Hey, it's Miss Riker. Today I'm going to show you how to do 6 watercolor techniques. Don't worry if you can't keep up, we can always pause the video and get you caught up. First thing before we do any of these is we need to get our paints ready. They're watercolors, so they should be like water. So you need to take your paintbrush and get all of the colors wet. You do not want sticky paint. Okay, let's start with wet and wet. Wet and wet means wet paint on wet paper. So the first thing I'm going to do is make an area on this square wet. It's just plain water. I want a lot on there because I want my wet paint to spread in the water. So then I just pick a color and I let it spread. Clean your brush off before another color. And that is wet and wet. The next one is called tape masking. And you'll notice that I already put a piece of tape in this square. We're going to paint over it. Then once the paint is dry, we can peel off the tape and underneath will be white. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did for wet and wet. I am just going to paint right over my tape with plain water. If your water is dirty, you might need to change it out. And then I just get some colors and drop them right on top. Don't worry if you get paint on the tape. It will protect the paper underneath. Okay, and that is tape masking. For crayon resist, you need a light colored crayon. If you remember from first grade, crayons are made out of wax. Wax and water do not mix. So if I lay wax on my paper, the watercolors will not cover it. You want quite a bit of wax. Just do a simple drawing. Don't spend too much time on it. Then you take any color and you paint right over the top. And that wax will push the water in the paint away. And that is crayon resist. The next one is salt, which is really fun for texture. So I'm going to do exactly what I did with wet on wet. Now, I have to work quickly because if I put too much salt on or I don't do it while the water is still, or while the paint is still wet, it won't work. So, plain water. Oops, got a little bit of purple on there, that's okay. Maybe I'll just use purple. I have to work quickly, I want to keep it wet. Maybe I'll even add some more water. Okay, while it's still wet, wet like a tiny puddle, I'm going to take a pinch of salt and I'm going to sprinkle it on top. I do not want too much. There should be no clumps. What's going to happen is the salt is going to dissolve and make cool little crystals. It takes a while to work. The next one is blot. And blot is also another great texture one. And this one I'm just going to take any color. I'm just going to paint an area. And then, while it's still wet, I'm going to take a crumpled up piece of paper towel and I'm going to blot it. And the wrinkles are going to make kind of a cool texture. If I blot too much, I can always paint again and blot. And that is blot. The last one is dry brush, and it's exactly what it sounds like. So you are going to take your brush and very gently because these brushes are new, you are going to dry it. Maybe just squeeze it. Don't pull on it. But you want a dry brush. Okay, I'm going to pick a color and just very lightly go back and forth to make a dry brush texture. So we have wet and wet, which was wet paper with wet paint. We have tape masking, crayon resist, salt, blot, and dry brush.